Welcome to Laugh, Cry, or Die, a comedy disability podcast by two weirdos who can't get their shit together. My name's Steve Wilbury. I am a professional broken human, and with me is Naomi Strain, as always, the best seisurist in all of New Zealand.
Why, thank you very much.
And today we have a special guest with us, the boy. Also,
Hello, boy.
we purchased him from a coal mine that's local to the region. He
And
was an orphan.
Steve has ownership, but I'm sure I could borrow him here and there if I wanted.
I'm thirsty.
There's
For
a
adventures, for just going to the beach and things like that.
well, you can borrow him so you can get into children's playgrounds without seeming like a pervert.
I'm female. I can do that anyway.
That's true. Anyway, he has a name. Actually, are you thirsty, boy? Do you need water? Apparently,
Yes.
occasionally he needs fed. It's annoying, but no, he is not just a boy. He's my boy. He's my very own flesh and blood. He's Lewis Wilbury. Say hi, boy. Or Lewis, I guess we should probably call you Lewis, eh? So Lewis is here because we've had quite an adventure last week. The podcast is all about living with disability and illness and stuff. And Lewis got a sharp, or is still having a pretty sharp lesson in the fact that your body can randomly decide to betray you of a Friday for no reason other than the fact that it's a prick.
And that's perfect criteria for our show, is just random breaking.
Random breaking.
Rubbish.
What it's all about. Do you want to give them the lowdown or shall I?
You.
Me? Okay.
I've said it too many times.
Lewis has said it about like every time a new doctor comes in the hospital, he's like,
Yeah, that is part of having a disability, is having to constantly explain to medical professional after medical professional about what the heck is going wrong with your body. And it does become just that story of, here we go again. And it's very tedious.
It's not just being broken, it's the part that's suffering is that you have to tell the bloomin' story like 20 odd times.
Yeah, it'd be handy if you could have like little notice cards, couldn't it? So when there's questions, you can just rifle through and find the next card, so you don't have to bother saying it again.
Oh, that's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, right. I suppose that's what medical records are supposed to be for.
All those notes.
Yeah, but they in my recent experience, which we won't talk about today, is that they don't read about your previous history, and so they don't know vital things like, oh, you were on life support recently. They don't necessarily notice that, which is kind of, they should know things like that, really.
You'd think. So, last Friday, Lewis woke up and he was like, oh, sorry, the week before last Friday, Lewis had a quite bad neck injury where he was doing a front flip on the trampoline and landed on his head. I don't know if you've ever done a front flip, but that's not how it's supposed to go.
I years ago did have a go on one of those kids' bungee trampolines and tried to be fancy and do a thing and landed on the back of my head, and that really hurt my neck, and I had to pretend it didn't hurt because I felt like a dork because I'm a grown up. But as a kid, was that instant pain with that?
Yeah, did it really hurt landing on your head like that?
I mean, it hurt. I just got back up and tried to do another one.
So he busted his neck up, and then a week later he woke up on Friday and went, my legs really hurt. And because I'm a dad, I was like,
after hurting his neck, was he okay?
Yeah, he was okay. He had a really sore neck. He was complaining about his neck quite a lot, but we were like ibuprofen and ice packs and, nut up. Then last Friday he was like, my legs hurt when he woke up, and we were like, gotta go. We're parents.
Of course.
So I woke up, Lewis is like, I'm sick, my legs hurt. We're like, gotta go. He comes home and he's still really uncomfortable. We're like, okay. And so we're like, okay, we'll take you to a physio. So we took him to the physiotherapist, who was like, okay, well, we'll look at your neck and this and that, and then we'll look at your feet. And then she's like, so do you have any tingling or numbness in your feet? And Lewis was like, yeah. And then we're like, what? And he's like, yeah, I can't feel my toes. And we're like, what? So then she's like, okay, close your eyes. And she does some tests. And she's like, And then she does some more tests. She's like, huh. And then she's like, well, you can't feel his feet. That's not great.
Yeah.
you guys should maybe, before I do like physio stuff, maybe take him to a doctor. So we go to the medical and injury center, and it's like a 4-hour wait on a Friday night. We're like,
Oh,
okay,
true.
you'll hold. So we go home and kind of make him comfortable. And then next morning we wake up, and first thing we're straight to the hospital. We go in. I'm like, I'm gonna say, right. We go into back to the medical injury center, and they're like, huh, can't feel your toes. Let's send you to the ED. We go to the ED.
Panicking at that point?
Yeah, what were you thinking when you couldn't feel your toes?
Just, I don't want to stay in the hospital.
But you hadn't had any food then. So like when it first happened, and the doctors were like, "You're a mystery."
Yeah, it wasn't really scary.
Did you think, oh, there's something really wrong with me, or did you think, oh, my toes are numb? You just didn't want to be in hospital. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we were uh in the ED, and the ED doctor comes, and he's like, and then they get the orthopedic doctor, the bone. What do they call them?
The bone guy.
The bone guys. Yeah, would you go see the bone guys?
Yeah.
The bone guys sounds rad. They also call them orthopods, which I think is hilarious.
Oh, orthopods are great.
Orthopods activate. So then the doctors, the orthopods come, and they're like, well, it's probably not your neck, because if it was your neck, it would be on the other side, and there's a couple other things that like would be more necky. And then they're like, So they do some more tests, and they're like, we're gonna just chuck you down into the ward. So we go on down to the pediatric ward. And what did you think when you first got to the pediatric ward?
This place is boring.
But there's all the murals on the wall.
It's boring.
Did you feel like it was aimed more at like young kids?
Well, what's kind of cool about the pediatric ward is that there are these cool ocean murals covering every inch of everything, which is kind of neat. There's a legit playroom with a little library and a pretty well-stocked DVD selection.
Nice.
And play stuff. And then they've also got basically fully trained kindergarten teachers from 8:30 till 3 to keep
really?
the kids entertained during the day.
Wow, that's pretty good.
So they're like, do you want to do some art? Here's a box of Lego that you can just do.
That I never did.
That you never did.
Completely forgot about it.
There's a really cool Ninjago set that they're like, the bags haven't even been opened. You can have first crack at it. And they gave it to Lewis, and then we didn't do it. He just watched YouTube for 5 days. Anyway, so getting ahead of myself. So the setup on the pediatric ward, I was actually really impressed with how they were dealing with the kids. The pediatricians just want to make sure that it's not progressing, that it's not getting worse and worse and worse. So we're in over the weekend because they don't do MRIs on the weekend.
True.
And then for any listeners who don't live in a rural province of a butt end of a country,
the ass end of nowhere.
Yeah, that's a thing. They can just not run MRIs on the weekend. And then Monday, some baby almost died. So we spent all day Monday waiting. And then Tuesday, they finally were like, okay, you're going to get an MRI, a sedated MRI, because they wanted to do his full brain and spine. And it would be like an hour and a half in the MRI machine, which is a bit much.
Damn. Yeah. Well, that's like a long time for anyone and go insane as a kid.
And then they did a lumbar puncture as well.
How did that feel, Liz, when you woke up? Was it like a real ache in your lower back?
I wasn't sore at first. I turned around in my bed, then it was sore.
Is it feeling better now?
No.
Well, and he's had headaches and a sore back ever since, which is basically what happens when you get a lumbar puncture.
Yeah,
which is why apparently in a lot of places they don't do them anymore because they don't do them often anymore because it's so
it's pretty invasive. Yeah, I had one years and years ago. I had one and didn't know that I'd had one. So I was unconscious, and it was a few days later that I said to my brother, "Can you just have a look what's going on with my back?" And so he had a look, and he said, "Oh, there's a little plaster on your lower back," and took it off, and there was pink juice on it. And I was like, what the heck is this pink juice? And it was spinal fluid, which was interesting. I was leaking a bit of my spine out.
Yeah, well, they had to send his spine all the way to Dunedin.
So now there's just a part of me in Dunedin.
So they could clone you down there.
No, there's two boys. Is
He's a
it?
real boy.
He will be when they're done with him.
Oh, that was all going. How were you and Rachel feeling?
Rachel was dying. She was not coping
Okay.
well.
Mm. I
Not
guess
quite
because
mental
she's
breakdown.
from having to not deal with you, but having to sort of go through what you go through with you. It's
Mm,
got to be traumatizing to be in the system with Lewis and
yeah.
not knowing we're going to have another broken person in the family.
Yeah, and it was because the still they hadn't had any results. So I mean, it could have been anything from brain cancer to like, crazy stuff.
Mm.
So and because crazy stuff always happens to us, her brain was like, it's going to be something crazy.
Yeah,
And
sure.
then seeing Lewis uncomfortable and suffering, when he doesn't deserve it, he's a 9-year-old boy. He's a beautiful kid who's lovely to everyone, Like you
Yeah,
don't deserve
yeah.
pain, do you? Do you think you do?
No.
No, I don't think you do.
And seeing your kid sedated for whatever reason, that
Mm.
in itself is just scary, isn't it?
Yeah, it was scary watching him come up because he was very like just he didn't know what was going on. And then what did you think when you were waking up? I remember you telling me that.
I was like, oh damn, I'm already tired before the whole thing. And I thought that was a bad thing, and I was like,
He basically he thought he hadn't been asleep yet. He thought he was just really
"Ah."
sleepy and that nothing had happened yet and it was still to go, but he couldn't like do anything and it was all very
Right. Well, I mean, that's kind of reassuring for people that are, going to be facing some kind of surgery or procedure, is that you just are oblivious to all the stuff that's going on. So, like when you go into surgery, I remember my first surgery. I was like, I do not know what's going to happen. I don't know. I was just scared by the whole thing. And the anesthesiologist dude, he was like, "This is the last thing you're going to remember. Don't you worry." And I was like, please look after me. Don't let me wake up. And he said that his entire job was to stand next to me and make sure I stayed asleep. And he's like, that's all I do is keep you asleep. And that is the last thing I remember, which is pretty good. So yes.
because before he was asking me, so am I just gonna like close my eyes and wake up, or am I gonna dream, or like how's it gonna work? And I was like, you just close your eyes and then you open them up again. And he was like, oh, and I was like, it's really fun if you like try and fight it and like
Yeah.
because you'll lose, but it's still fun. And then the anesthetists think it's hilarious when you fall asleep. And what happened?
Basically, I was getting ready to fight it, like I wasn't feeling it, and then I blinked, but that blink turned into me falling asleep, even though I didn't feel tired.
Right. And then you just woke up a couple of hours later.
Yeah.
Right. So he gets his brain scan, and we get to go home because he's finally had a scan. And then we come back a couple days later, and can I tell them about your poops?
Sure.
So
Go ahead, man.
after we get home, we're like, "Hey, did he poop in hospital?" And Rachel's like, "No. Did you poop in hospital? No." Huh. And this is really starting to get, by the time we go back to the hospital, it's starting to compound. And he's really uncomfortable at the hospital, like trying to poop and puke and just not having a good time. And the
And that then
doctor,
is worse than the actual leg thing, then, isn't it?
Like,
yeah,
I was literally trying to stick my finger down my throat so I would gag and throw up.
Right. Yeah. Just sort of get it over and done with.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but while he's like feeling terrible, they're like, well, we did the scans and there's no brain cancer. There's no obvious. So there's this thing called ADEM, which is acute disseminating encephalomyelitis, which
That sounds
is,
fun.
I know, I spent ages practicing how to say it. And it's basically a one-off MS attack where your immune system just decides to attack your myelin sheaths around your nerves and then stops.
Wow.
but it's quite rapidly progressive. And the treatment for it is intravenous steroid injections.
Right. So at this point, how's Lewis's legs feeling at that point? Is it worse or is it the same? Or
So they're the same. So he's been stable the whole time. So it's kind of
Right.
numb up to his shin, but it's not, rapidly moving up his legs,
Right, yeah.
So they're like, well, a lot of times weird nervous system stuff happens and then eventually it stops. And you have to kind of balance the severity of his symptoms versus the treatment that we're going to give him.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Like, is it worth bringing him into hospital for another 5 days, giving him a IV steroids, which for a 9-year-old is intense, and then
Yeah.
another 6-week course of oral steroids for this numb foot that's not really dangerous, as it were.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so then we've got a review in a couple days back at the hospital, and Lewis has been off school still. So that's been our adventurous week, really. And now we're just home, keeping comfortable.
And what's the next stage? How are the legs feeling now? Are they still the same as they were?
More numb and so on.
So are they hurting at the moment?
Do they ever not hurt? No, it's all. And does the paracetamol and stuff, does that make a difference? A little bit.
And can you, when you're walking around, is it difficult or is it the pain?
Difficult and the pain.
Did it stress you out or was it just boring with all the stuff going on?
Boring and slow.
But you weren't ever stressed?
No.
When your mum and dad were stressing out, did they hide that from you or were you aware that they were being stressed?
Aware.
I wasn't that stressed, though.
Yeah, I was definitely aware of Mum.
Yeah. So what did they do to make it less boring or easier for you?
My plushes.
Your plushes?
Yes.
Is that what really helped you through?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Lewis loves his or stuffed animals is what we used to call them, but they're plushies now.
Right, right. So as a parent, when your kids go, I suppose like with the kids going through a thing, they're going to perhaps be aware that you're stressed, but it might not be as big a deal to them. So like if other people have got a kid going through it, I suppose you can take a bit of that stress off yourself. And then your kid's probably mentally better than you are at dealing with it.
I think most, because a kid doesn't have it into their head that, oh, I can get MS or I can get brain cancer. Were you aware that it could be something serious when you were in hospital? Yeah. But you just were like, do you think because you've seen me go through hospital so much, you were like, oh, it's just something, you were easier with it?
Well, you stuff like and live. So just have to push through it. Like if he's lived through all of this stuff, then I can probably live through it for them.
That's pretty amazing. So with your dad being strong with what he's going through, it kind of put it in perspective that sometimes stuff goes wrong and there's not much you can do about it really, apart from just your mental state. It's kind of just get through all the medical stuff and roll with the punches, I guess. You share things that like Steve, you haven't kind of shielded Lewis from it. If you share as an adult, you always try and protect your kids from things, but if you can share things that are stressful for you and how you cope with things, that's positive because that's obviously helped Lewis deal with his stuff.
Yeah, and I think it speaks to like, because we've talked about how we don't have anything to offer or like we're not worthwhile or this or that, but while obviously it's probably been difficult having a dad with reduced circumstances, I've definitely been more calm through his adventure through hospital, and his knowledge of it all has made him stay calm. So, this negative thing that we really rag on ourselves about can bring benefits.
Yeah, for sure. And like being in the hospital, like Lewis, you were saying that the worst thing was that you were bored. That's brilliant. It's much better to be bored than stressed. As a kid, it's a pain in the ass. But because they'd have been used to the medical system from all your stuff, it's tedious. which is kind of good.
Yeah. Because a lot of people find hospitals very scary. Do you think, were you ever scared?
Yeah.
No. Just bored.
Just bored?
That's brilliant.
But he was very good at making, because there were other kids in and out, and he would make friends on the ward. And then the other good thing about having a dad who's been through the hospital is he knows how to hospital properly. So I brought the switch in, and I had it set up, and I had all the I got the right amount of snacks, and I got everything right for a stay in hospital. I was like, okay, how do we do this right? So we had Mario Kart tournaments and kids playing Minecraft, and
Now,
ours
again,
was totally the party room.
that's again a positive from your experience in the hospital. Is you know what helps you, and essentially you're a child in your head. You don't need to be sitting there all serious. So you know the games and the playing and the snacks and that sort of thing that helps, which is great. Yeah.
100%. 100%. So we had lots of books, we had lots of fun, and we made some new friends. And yeah, so he's still got a numb foot. We still don't know what causes it, and it will probably at some point go away, is what the doctors say.
So it's just a matter of waiting and hoping that it does.
Yes. Waiting
Is there
for
a
him.
chance that it won't? Is there a chance that that's just how it is?
I guess so, but I've spoken to a couple of different doctors who are like, yeah, it's nervous system stuff in kids is actually moderately common.
Okay.
And this is kind of the presentation, and then there's a progression, and then it's there, and then it's not. It's just a weird thing that happens sometimes.
So they won't know if it would possibly reoccur, or could there be permanent?
This is the thing. So basically, what he's having is MS symptoms, right?
Hmm.
But the key is that in MS, the M is multiple. So if it happens again, then it's maybe MS, right? But
Right.
to confuse things even further with ADEM or other like demyelination diseases, you can have a recurrence within like 4 months, and it's still the one-off thing.
Right.
But the technical like diagnostic criteria for multiple sclerosis is it has to be in two separate parts of the nervous system on two separate occasions.
Okay.
So if
if
he
the
has
same
a
thing
numb foot
happens,
and gets better, and then he has a numb hand, then that's like, oh, it's MS.
right.
And there is a family history of MS, and there is a family history of squiffy immune systems. So that was like a big worry, is that it was like proper pediatric MS, which is very uncommon, but is a thing that exists.
So it's a valid sort of concern.
Hmm.
So I suppose
Which is why they kept him in for 5 days and did the MRIs. And the pediatric doctors were great. They took everything very seriously. And it wasn't like, when doctors kind of fob you off or whatever. They were like, really invested and wanted to hear what we had to say. And, were very open to everything we said. So even though it was, not great, it was a pretty positive interaction.
Yeah. So Lewis, when you were in hospital, did they listen to your answers, or did they mostly talk to mum and dad?
I mean, I don't really have any answers.
What did they ask you questions, I guess?
Questions?
Well, he said they mostly listened to his dad said speaking for him. What did they say?
They mostly listened to my mum and my dad.
And was that okay with you?
He got quite bored speaking to them quite quickly.
I don't have to say a word.
Right. So if you tell mum and dad once, and then they can deal with it all from there on, that easiest. Yeah. That's good. That's handy to know.
But yeah, I mean, it's still concerned. It's sad seeing your boy not the bright child you remember, but he's come back to himself the last few days, especially since he's pooped. He did an enormous poop yesterday.
Proper man size.
He locked up the neighbor's toilet.
Brilliant.
It's like the size of a leg.
Sometimes being in hospital, that's sometimes the worst part. It's like when I bust years ago and I broke my leg, and I was given morphine for that and didn't realize how bad it can make constipation. And it was like 10 days before anything happened. And that hurt way more than my broken leg did.
I mean, God, on the way back from his review when he was still really blocked up, he puked up his half-digested cocoa checks all over the back of the car.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So there's like just no room left inside.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
and on my fencing gear as well, which was
is expensive in life.
well,
Damn.
now it's very clean, at least.
All sanitized.
Yeah, sanitized and been
Slightly small.
a little bit of puke stink on my fencing jacket, but you know, it's been hand sanitized and bleached to within an inch of its life.
Perfect.
But yeah, now that his bowels are moving again, he's much better. But that's one of the nice things about not having a large intestine is I don't get blocked up after surgery.
That's true.
But the one thing that I actually found is after surgery, your peas don't work often.
No, I've actually been peeing more.
Well,
see, I get that. I get the over peeing.
You get over peeing. I get
Yeah.
under peeing.
Right.
Also,
Yeah, no.
good band name. Over pee, under pee.
I think when in hospital, I would rather under pee because it's a pain in the ass having to get out of bed all the time and people being aware of how often you're peeing. Because when I'm in hospital, I'm always on 24/7 watch in case I have a seizure. So there's always somebody aware of how often I'm going to pee. So like, yeah, sorry, me again. Sorry about this.
I'm not peeing. I'm just going to read a magazine in the toilet for fun.
Another time when we'll do a podcast about my my recent video.
Yeah, you'll get yours.
But I was going to say with that one, you're literally watched 24/7, as in if you go for a wee, they're like 30 seconds in. Are you okay in there? Are you okay in there? Like, yes, again, it's me. So yeah, overpeeing is a thing.
But the problem is if you don't pee for like 2 or 3 days, then they're like, well, now you need a catheter. And I've had catheters inserted while I was unconscious, which is fine. And then they were like, we're going to put a catheter in while you're awake. And I was like,
no,
thank you.
Yeah, I've never had an awake one.
They numb like very liberally with the local anesthetic. But still, it's a one-way system, you know, something coming up the way.
Yes. Yeah.
Lewis loves the story of the man that pulled out his own catheter.
Well, the one time I had one that that I remember having it in is waking up and going, you have to take this thing of me. And there was nobody sort of on call. So it was like 2 a.m. and they were like, we'll wait until the morning where someone can come and take it out. And I'm like, no, you are taking it out right now. And I kicked up such a fuss because it was just, no, I couldn't deal with it being in, that they did get someone and remove it. Because I'd rather wear the sexy hospital knickers than have a catheter.
Well, they are pretty sexy hospital knickers.
Yeah, nice mesh pants with a big pad in it so you can pee yourself. Which I didn't.
You wanted knickers so you could pee in your bed?
Yeah, like getting out of bed.
Yes, getting out of bed is so annoying, isn't it?
But you want to make the most of the full hospital experience and just lay there peeing yourself.
Just swallowing in your own filth.
Well, see, the good thing about having...
Clean me.
Clean me. The good thing about having seizures is I can just pee myself whilst having a seizure. Nice and easy, no bathroom needed.
So you basically just never pee normally. Do you just save it up?
Well, see, the bonus is if I ever do pee myself, just accidentally in normal life, I can just go, oh, quick, pretend it's a seizure and blame it on that.
So you just like fall off your chair at the cafe and be like, oh, I'm having a seizure. Whoopsie everywhere.
But no, I do have an agreement with a friend that if I pee myself in public, they will also pee themselves. So I'm not on my own with it. So I'm not it's not just me that's embarrassed. That's a true friend right there.
That is. You know, that's someone who knows how important it is solidarity with we.
Exactly. Yeah.
Weirdarity. So here's a question, completely off topic of the boy, but like, so if you feel a seizure coming on, do you make sure to do a wee so you don't have any wee in your bladder?
Um, when friends have seen me go, because I don't have any recollection of once I've had the seizure, once I'm aware afterwards, I don't remember beforehand.
Right.
But when friends have witnessed me have one, they say that I have an amount of awareness. So I'll be struggling with more words and that I may go to the bathroom more. So I think it's kind of built into my head that that can happen.
Right.
But afterwards, I don't remember doing that. Yeah, if I had in an ideal world, I would have awareness. So if you see me going into a seizure, well, if you're aware that I'm starting to struggle with my words, I'm going a bit weird, a bit drunk, send me off to the bathroom. Let's go and have a pee and then come and have a sit down.
All right. So let's say, right, I'm going to send you, as you're about to have a seizure, into the hardest room in the entire house,
Yes.
covered in porcelain and that you can hit your head on, just so
And
we
then,
don't get wheeze on the carpet.
yeah, well, I mean, it's nice and easy to clean up in a bathroom.
That's
But
true.
like you say, it is also the hardest place and the most difficult to get into because of the confines of a room, that the door will be a bit trickier to get open. But I mean, I've had plenty of incidences in the bathroom. That's few concussions happen from bathroom furniture and broken rib. Broken rib, I'm so glad that I don't remember that it was during a seizure because I was changing a light bulb. So I was on a step ladder and had obviously had the seizure at some point on there. But during the falling from it, smacked my rib off the corner of the vanity unit and cracked a rib. And picturing that, I'm like, if you imagine being conscious while that happened, that's some kind of impact. And I'm so glad that I have no memory of that because just the thought of it is kind of hideous.
Okay, here's a joke, right? How
Go.
many epileptics does it take to change a light bulb?
I don't know.
None. They shouldn't do it because it's a risk, so they should get someone else in.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Yeah, pretty
That,
true.
is that hilarious?
Yeah.
Comedy comes from truth, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, I have on a few occasions come off there's another one. It was like if you had to stage an incident, so the paramedics turned up and I had the step ladder in my lounge because there's high ceilings in the lounge, step ladder, light bulb on the ground, and me next to the step ladder. And it's like it's like a crime scene. What happened here? So they had to take me in for an MRI because they don't know if I was on the ladder when I had it on.
Right.
Was I on the ladder or was I on the ground? But yeah, if you had to make a situation that looked like I wonder what happened here, then yeah, perfect.
The great seizure mystery.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's not that much for mystery if there's a step ladder and a light bulb.
But it's so back to the boy. Sorry, this is what we do. We get off topic. I mean, so for me, I was pretty okay because having gone through everything, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is just going to be that time his foot went numb. The idea of him having an ongoing health problem was, it was hard because I don't
Sure.
want that for him. But at the same time, I couldn't think of a better dad to help him navigate being a sick kid because being a sick
Yeah.
kid is there's a lot to process.
Yeah.
Especially when your mum is really stressed and is pushing you through hospitals and it's a lot. And I was like, well, at least he'll have somebody to help him on the journey and to make sure that there's the switch packed.
Yeah, I suppose from Rachel's point, that's like a double-edged thing. So she's having the stress of going through the fact that she might have another, disabled person in the family. So that's one stress. But on the other side, she's also had some experience on how to deal with that.
Very much a double-edged sword. It's like, well, but because she's seen how much I've been through, the idea of, this young innocent who doesn't deserve it. That was a big part of it, was like, he doesn't deserve it. And
are you saying that some kids do deserve it?
Some kids are shitheads.
And they can get what's coming to them.
Yeah, they can bloody get their pediatric MS and suck on it. Brandon. bloody pushing in line for the slide. Shit,
They should have been better kids.
they
You know,
should
I
have.
mean, we can blame it on the parents. They should have taught them better.
No, it's on the kid. It's on the kid.
They're just inherently bad.
Just bad eggs. Bad eggs who should get sick. That's terrible.
And so, Lewis, you should learn from that and just make sure you're a better kid so this doesn't happen again.
Yeah, if you were a better kid, this wouldn't have happened. You know why you got sick? Because of
Why?
something you did.
This
No,
is all on you. It's all on you, Lewis.
Oh.
It's all on you.
It might have been when I pushed Timmy off that ladder.
He did push Timmy off that ladder,
There we go.
and then he peed on Timmy to make Timmy think that Timmy peed himself. Which I was like, bro, reel it in. And he was like, nah, Timmy's a dick.
Yeah. Son Timmy.
Timmy is the worst. And now he's got a numb foot, so he's learned his lesson.
Don't be doing that again.
Nope. Do you have anything else that you want to say, Lewis?
No.
No? Are you excited to
Go get a nice pop from the fridge.
go get Nice Pop? All right, he's off to get Nice Pop, so I'll say goodbye.
Alrighty.
Alrighty. And thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you all again next week.
See you next time.